All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Elevating IT podcast. You're live with us right now. I'm Mike Brooks, and there's Frank DiBenedetto right there.
That's me. Good afternoon,
What's
Mike.
happening? What's happening this week, Frank?
What did I tell you about this week? I don't know. The week went by pretty fast, it seems like. I got a lot done. Nothing too...
Nothing exciting? No, you didn't win like a lottery or, stumble upon a pot of gold or...
No, nothing really. I feel like it was a productive week. Like it wasn't, some weeks are tedious, you feel like you fought your way through it. And this week felt pretty good. It was, I got a lot done. Working on a couple things on the MSP. Wrapped up, I'm not going to mention the vendors. I don't think that's fair to do, but we added another tool in our cybersecurity stack. So pretty cool stuff. Definitely some neat things out there, it's cat and mouse, right? So we come up with a tool and the hackers figured out a way around that. And I got to buy another tool to cover that. But it's the right thing to do, keeping the clients educated. Well, I know what I actually did too. It was kind of cool. I've been meaning to do this, and some clients asked about it. I think it's a cool little value add for us to resell. It's Office 365 email signature management. It's automated. So if you have like a team of say 30 people, everyone's got a different signature, it looks different. You try to get people to make it look the same, and it's really hard. It's like a full-time job. This one actually, you put the info in your contact in Office 365, so you make sure your name's spelled right and your phone number and stuff, and then it merges it into a signature that you as the business owner or whoever's in charge of that would create, and then automatically gets sent out with every email, so you don't have to worry about it. It goes out whether it's mobile or Outlook or OWA or whatever. So it's pretty slick. So we've been piloting it in our own MSP, and now we've got a couple clients that are like, yeah, let's do this. It's like $1 a month per user. So it's a small price to pay, I think, to have that professionalism. You could do banner ads and promotions. You can have different ones for the sales team versus the marketing team. So that was actually pretty fun to work on. That was something that wasn't cyber. Didn't make my brain hurt, and kind of cool. Anyway,
that's awesome. Very awesome. Yeah. So we're going to talk today about bouncing back from losing your biggest client or a big client. Kind of, I teased this when I put out the live that we're going to talk about failures, and I think that's important, right? Because in sales, we have to learn to deal with that kind of thing, right? You're always going to hear no. If you're out there selling, you're going to get kicked down, man. You're going to get kicked down more than you get yes, right? You're going to hear no more than you hear yes. So I think it's kind of cool. I know you've got a really good story, and I thought I'd coax you to share that today. And how you die. More importantly,
you like to revel in my misery, don't you, Mr. Brooks?
I like no. It's an interesting because when I first met you, you were going through. Also, I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't want to get you personal, but you were going through stuff, right? And within that period, and I don't remember when that period of time was, but you actually had a pretty big setback in your business. I'll let you talk about it and share what you want to share. I'm just teeing it up. And kind of forcing you to pull back the kimono, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
it's cool to hear that kind of stuff. It's motivating, I think, because the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is that successful people like yourself, and you just don't give up. I mean, I remember talking to you about that. You weren't, it was a blow when it happened, but you weren't like, oh no, what do I do? Or how am I going to survive? You just kind of hunkered down, you did your thing, and you came out the other side fine and stronger than ever. So it's a cool story.
So I think the one thing you mentioned is accurate. First and foremost to get out is that everybody has stuff, and that if you don't have it, you're going to have it. It's life. And I think the big thing there is to accept and recognize that nobody's immune to it. Some have it worse than others, but there's always stuff, and that's why I say be kind to everybody because you don't know what they're going through. And it is true. There's been plenty of times in my younger self, would be snarky or pick on somebody, and you find out that they're going through something, and you're like, oh, sorry. So as you get older and mature, you kind of a little more sensitive and aware of that. So that I think is worth mentioning because I'm by no means unique in that respect, and this isn't a sob story. I will I will identify what you're talking about. I did get divorced about uh, about 10 years ago, I think it was. So it's an event. My daughter was only a year old. I had the business. It was growing. Um, it happens, and fortunately, because of the marketing that I did, I was able to keep that business growing and kind of idling through. I had to pay a lot of money out, so unfortunately, that slowed the growth of my business a little bit. But I kept it going, and as I got towards the end of that, I had a client that was a pretty big client of ours, and we were leasing space from them, and so we were pretty entangled. And looking back, I would not recommend ever doing that. Sharing space or cohabitating with with a client is not a great idea because things don't go well. You're
Yeah.
you're stuck. So
I know somebody else who did that, by the way. I used to, and I don't mean to take you off track, but I had good friends. I used to go up to their office once a month because we were all marketing people and we would work out of their office. They were working out of this big financial firm. And they got booted. They lost the account, got booted.
Yeah. I think that I would say that the relationship that we had with the client was only strained because they abused us because like we were there. So they treated us like, we were just the IT guys. And, I think that it soured our relationship. Nonetheless, there were two partners. The one we had the strong relationship with, I guess, got overridden. And the one that we didn't have the strong relationship made the decision that they were going to leave. They had a contract with us that they terminated early. It was supposed to run through the following April. And, it was like October, or actually, no, it was the summertime when this happened. I remember it was over the 4th of July weekend. And so we find out, oh, hey, we're not going to be using you anymore. And I forget when the contract, we're going to end the contract in like September. So of course I was like, oh, really? What shall we do with our signed agreement that we have, with you? And we also, we resell a cloud solution. So there's a reciprocal, cloud solution there. And I said, what do you suggest I do with our office space? It's a little different than when you terminate the receptionist and you walk her out and that's the end of it, right? Like we actually have physical space. They said, oh, well, you could stay here through the end of the year. So, I said, there is no way that I have such little respect for myself that I would stay. So one thing that I learned is number one, don't react emotionally. I mean, at that moment I was really upset and mad, so I didn't want to make any decisions. So I thought about it. The next day, I let my team know. I said, listen, we're gonna have an all hands on meeting. Don't go to the office. We met remotely. So of course everybody else in that space was like, what are they doing? And then the next day I said, go to the office. That was Thursday. I said, go to the office like nothing's happened. Friday, by the end of the day, take everything you own. If you dropped a paper clip, pick it up off the floor, and we're done. We're out. And we went remote that Monday. And that Monday, everybody else in that company who was our client, still technically, right, because the relationship was ending, but it wasn't gone. They were like, what happened? And I felt so good that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let any client or anybody hold me back, right? These are all just temporary setbacks, and it's upward and onward. And now I lost our office space, and we lost about $8,000 of MRR. So, it's a pretty good chunk of change, to the negative. And I've always believed that, you just got to sell your way out of it, right? You have to have the right attitude, and sales seems to cure everything when it comes to business, right? It's just a math problem at that point. I just had a math problem. And luckily, I had good MRR. I built the business the right way. We weren't like at the point where if we lost that, we were going out of business or firing people or anything. But, it still hurts. It stings. It's revenue and income to you. So, I went out, and all I can say is when I look back on my life, whenever like one door closes, like a window opens, and a buddy of mine says, "Hey, you should really check out this building. It's called Bell Works in Homedale." He was the mayor of the town at the time, and I went to high school with him. And he's like, "Yeah, you gotta check it out. It's really cool. It's like a pretty big, it used to be a Bell Labs building. It's 2 million square feet. They're revitalizing it. It's kind of like Metropolis in the suburbs. You've been there before. It's pretty cool.
Big. I didn't know it was that big. That's a lot. 2 million square feet.
So I signed a lease. I'm fast forwarding here for the interest of time. I signed the lease. So now not only have I lost my 8,000, now I'm on the hook for a couple more thousand. And I looked at it and I said, this is an opportunity. Everything happens for a reason. We're going to go there. We're going to set up shop. And I think this is going to be really good for us because an IT company in this building that's kind of based around IT, it would be a good thing. We're the only company that did what we did at the time. And we start picking up all these clients, including the building owner, which is a big win for us. Like you get the guy who, is the owner of the 2 million square foot building. That's a pretty big client to get.
Right.
And it was funny, you talk about the setback. So my, the payments that I was making, from the divorce ended in December of 2016. I was pretty excited because, it was 5 years of going through that. And I was happy I was able to get through it and grow my business. And my dad got sick and died in January of 17. And I remember I was signing the lease. I had to sign the paperwork and I had to go to the hospital. He was in the hospital at the time in December 16. And I remember thinking like, man, this is just like, when does this crap end? And I was just thinking like the timing always sucks, but this is life, right? Unfortunately. And I just said, look, you got to just persevere and get through it. And, you rely on other people. We signed that lease and business has taken off. We had probably our 2 or 3 best years ever, since then. And ironically, that client a year or two later was looking for space in the building, the one we left. And I was like, I wanted to say, no, this is, you're not allowed to come here now. This is my building. Like I put my flag here. We left, and we're, look, I'm mature, I put things behind me. We'll never work with them again. They did inquire, and I said, no, we're not interested. And they were surprised. That's awesome. I said, not interested. I'm not, we've done this already. It's a healthier relationship now to stay separate. But, it's life, but selling, following our process, sometimes you just got to stay the course and realize things happen for a reason, and you got to look for the opportunity. And that's where we are today. We've been there for about 3 years. That's it. One thing I remember in a real, another lifetime, I was involved with some network marketing, and I'll never do it again. It just didn't like.
Yeah, that always surprises me. You're not exactly the network marketing type of person, because I've met lots and lots, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there's a certain type of person who is attracted to it, and there's certain personality type. It's just I'm not saying anything negative, but you're absolutely not.
I got out of it. So I did this. This was in the early 90s or mid 90s. So it was way different than now. Like we didn't have the internet, so it was really a lot more of that traditional like I don't want to say cold calling, but it was a lot more about like you had to actually have the ability to hold a conversation and say, hey, can I talk to you about it? And you'd have to like speak about the opportunity or whatever. But here's what that did for me. It exposed me to Nightingale Conant, who is like the world's leading provider of a lot of those books that are on your shelf behind you, right? So How to Win Friends and Influence People, the magic of thinking big, magic of believing, and on and on and on. The Greatest Salesman in the World. All those
secret, the Earl Nightingale. That's the book.
Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman. Just amazing books, timeless classics. Doesn't matter what you're selling. And what it did is it exposed me to that. And it made me realize network marketing wasn't for me. It was an interesting group of people. I have respect for them, but I would never do it again. But the biggest thing that I had learned at the end was they said the moment that you take a step back from what you've built and admire is immediately when it starts to erode and goes down. And I always remember that. And I said, if I spent a bunch of time on the sidelines, feeling sorry for myself, not only, hey, did that one client go away, but this client's going to get acquired, right? This client's going to retire, and I'm going to see what I've built go down. So I never stopped selling. So even that's kind of my lesson that I learned, even during like COVID and all this stuff. I never try to stop selling. I'm at a good point in our business, but I never want to sit around because who knows? I could lose some clients because they go out of business,
Right.
or maybe it's just time to move on from our MSP. But it's always about, I think, continuing to stay the course. There's going to be some potholes along the way, but you'll get through it. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, hope there's a lesson there. So
there is. It's a great lesson. And Brian says, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Yes,
yeah,
absolutely,
indeed.
Brian. That's it is very true. It really, it's hard when you're in the thick of it. And I'm more of an emotional type of person. Like I have to let it out. I have to I have to talk it out. I have to yell it out sometimes. Like I have to really, and Frank knows that because he's my sounding board. Like I'll call him up, go, and Frank's just like, Frank's like, surfer dude, like, dude, it's going to be okay, dude.
I don't surf.
No, but that's, you're not a surfer, but you're very like,
No, I remember you telling me that one day. I remember we were traveling and something happened. I mean, it always happens. We go to get on stage, right? And something blows up in the application right at that time, or it's always the way things happen. It happens to everybody. Remember when Steve Jobs was on stage? I forget, he was announcing something Apple and the thing didn't work, or maybe it was Microsoft, but it was Bill Gates, I think, right? But that's just the way it is. Sometimes you just gotta realize you can't control what you can't control. And I remember you saying to me, you're like, you just don't really get that upset about things. You're pretty calm. And I just learned, I used to get myself really upset, and I just learned, you know what, this too shall pass. It'll get behind it. It works out.
I try and do it, and I do it. I'm pretty good about doing it actually, but not even close to on the magnitude that you are. You have it. You just like everything rolls off you. And that's, it's why you're successful. I think there is a lot to that, success. Sales is like probably 95% mindset. If you think you're going to fail, you're going to fail. If you think you're going to succeed, you're going to succeed, and it's
part of my job too, so at the MSP, part of my job is the lead, right? If by leading I'm crying in my Cheerios and lamenting and spewing venom about that client and all that to the group who looks to me for leadership, that sends them a message, right? And they might start looking elsewhere. Maybe they're like worried, hey, we're going to quit because maybe things aren't going so well. Meanwhile, I put the pedal to the metal and I get a new office space, and these guys are like, wow, this is crazy, and it inspired and motivated them. It was hard for me to do it because, the whole time I'm thinking like, yeah, this is a big risk and a lot more money to commit myself to a 5-year lease at a time where, we just lost a big client. But sometimes you have to lead that way. And even, in terms of, you come to me with some stuff, if I start saying, oh my God, that's and I fuel the fire, where are we going to end up? Right? We're both going to be, we both need therapy. So
sometimes you want, like I have this,
but
I like to play this game with you to see if I can get you to really break, like just go, yeah, you're yeah.
I'll tell you, we'll tell everybody, the only time you get me to break was when we would travel. And right before I'd go to get on stage, I'd be like, the countdown clock, it's like 10, 9, and I'm like in the zone. I got like my lavalier mic. I'm making sure I'm like my jacket's straight. And you go, what we should have done? And I'm like, what? And you tell me like something that you thought of that would have been great if we did at that event. And that's just what I'm about to yell at you for doing that. They're like, Frank DiBenedetto from Audit. And then I'm like, and I got to go on stage. And I'm all like, so I forbid you from ever doing that to me. I remember.
Hang on a second. We got to get some context here.
All right,
ready for context?
Yes, this is funny.
So now Frank is fast forwarding to the part where he's there and mic'd up and ready to be on stage, but he's forgetting to tell you that literally 1 minute before that, he was in his room because Frank likes to come on right from his room, coming on like, so if you were, moral of the story is if you were down there maybe 10 minutes early, I could have, we could have talked about it before you went on stage.
There's a reason why I do this though, is because I like to I don't want to be like distracted with stuff. So like I don't want to like come down and then spend 25 minutes where someone's asking me like, hey, how do you sell? And I'm all wrapped up. I like to be in the zone. So I'm in my room, I like to be prepared. I've kind of gone through the presentation, make sure I know what I'm going to say. I come down, literally, you're right. I come in hot, like literally minutes before.
Miking up before.
Everybody thinks I'm not showing up, including you. And I kind of go right on. But then you would be good, like for that little like, what we should have done. And I'd be like, what? And then you get me all riled up. So I used to try to avoid you.
Avoid me. Now let's do some more context, because while you were in your room getting ready, getting yourself psyched up, you were doing what with your smartphone? You were texting me, busting my chops, telling me, "Oh, I'm not going to come. I don't think I'm going to make it."
Well, yeah, because I like to make you nervous. So I go, yeah, I'm not feeling good. I just spilled my iced tea on my tie or my shirt. Like I don't have anything else to wear.
You have to go and fill in for me. And then you had the one time where you really were sick, and I didn't believe you. I was laughing at you.
Yeah, the one time I wasn't actually not feeling well. You were just laughing, and I was turning green. But yeah, it's all in good fun. You know what? Just getting on stage and speaking is a lot of fun. You got to get out of your comfort zone if you've never done it. It's a surreal experience when people are talking, and it's interesting too how different rooms will impact. I remember I kind of like the rooms that are wider than deep, because I like to kind of walk like left to right. And the few times where we were in rooms that were like deeper, not as skinny, you feel like you can only talk to the front of the room and the back. It's weird. So different, it's different feels. But I don't know. We're covering a lot of ground here today, aren't we?
Yeah, we veered off track a little bit, but I mean, that was a good story, and thanks for sharing that. I'm glad I was able to coax you into sharing, because I remember, I was with you going through that at the time, because I came into Audit. We started this in 2016, so I came in shortly after you guys launched, but I met you just about when you launched Audit originally, and I knew of you in the year leading up to that, because we were friends. I was friends with your mutual friend, our programmer, the original programmer of Audit. So, I got to know you through some interesting times. I saw you go through that divorce and how you dealt with that, and dealing with a lot of different things like that all at once, and then losing that business, that opportunity. I was like, oh man, you could have gone a bunch of different ways. You could have gone and found a place that was very similar or smaller, but you made a bold decision, and you did. You just decided, what, I'm not going to let this, why would I let this bother me? I can't do anything about it.
So, I remember the first event we had was in February. We were speaking at ASCII, and I remember it was in Houston, and my head was spinning. I couldn't even think straight. My dad had passed away end of January. And I kept telling you, yeah, when we go to Dallas, and you're like, it's Houston. I remember you were trying to be nice, but I think you were really concerned I was going to wind up in Dallas and you guys were going to be in Houston. And I honestly, I remember like getting on stage, and I don't remember a lot after that. Like, it was just a weird experience, it was sort of like going through the motions. And then I just remember I forget where we were the next month. We had the next event, and just remember thinking like, time heals all wounds, no matter what it is. And, we had fun with it. It was a great year. ASCII group was really good to us. Still good to us. They're really, Jerry Katavas, going to give him some credit here. He does a lot of good for the MSP industry. And he saw something in Audit, which as a sales tool was something that MSPs were desperately deficient in, and there was certainly a lot of interest amongst that group in learning how to sell more efficiently and effectively. We know we created a category. There's some other tools out there now, which, hey, it's great. The way we look at it is, Anything that's good and worthwhile, you're going to invite, I think, some competition. And you know what? It makes the industry that much better. People drink Coke and people drink Pepsi, right? Which one's better? Who knows? But people drink both. So Coke. So I grew up on Pepsi, so I don't drink soda I don't drink any soda anymore.
Yeah, I haven't had soda in probably 15 years.
Yeah, but yeah, at the end of the day, I just think, just from I think from a sales perspective, where we started, the industry has embraced this type of product, and I think it's great. I think more MSPs are selling more easily, and ultimately the businesses that they serve are the ones who are benefiting. So that was my why all along, was to elevate the quality of IT available to the SMBs. And hey, whether you use Audit or you use somebody else, that's what's happening, and that's what the world needs. So.
Right. And that is a great segue, because that's why it's called the Elevating IT podcast. Of course, we do this as a weekly sales wrap every Friday. So if you're listening to the podcast, then tune in on Friday. We do it live on YouTube. We do it live on Facebook. You can grab us there. And Pete says, "Hey, Mike and Frank." And hey, back at you, Pete. Good to see you.
Buddy.
Appreciate everybody showing up live. It's always great to have people live. And you know what we'd like to do in the coming weeks? I'm going to start invited a few people, but it was short notice this week to get somebody on. But we'd like to start bringing on guests. We just finished up and wrapped up going through kind of a literally 9-week kind of an analysis of the gap selling book. We capped it off last week. So now we actually like to bring on some guests. So that's what we're going to start doing the next couple of weeks. So if you're listening to this and you'd like to come on, email me. I'm Mike@auditforit.com. And thanks for tuning in to the Elevating IT podcast. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.